Benjamin Franklin once said, "Treason is a charge invented by winners as an excuse to hang the losers. History is written with the ink of the survivors." But today, we are not looking at the history books. We are opening the autopsy files. In this file, we will examine the final, biological moments of the 5 most infamous traitors in human history. We will look at how the state terminated their biology, through high-voltage electricity, mechanical destruction, and the cold physics of gravity. But I must warn you, you need to watch until traitor number 1. Because the way the modern justice system punished the man who caused the greatest intelligence disaster in US history is a biological insult that will leave you genuinely infuriated. Let's open the files. Number 5. Marcus Junius Brutus. For over 2 millennia, the name Brutus has been synonymous with the ultimate betrayal. He led the assassination of Julius Caesar, striking his friend and mentor fatally on the Senate floor. But from a forensic and political standpoint, was Brutus the traitor, or was Caesar the tyrant who betrayed the Roman Republic? Brutus did not assassinate Caesar for money, he did it for an ideology. But he failed to win the psychological war of the masses. Defeated by Mark Antony at the Battle of Philippi in 42 BC, Brutus knew the gruesome execution that awaited him. He did not face a hangman. He chose the ultimate honorable termination of Roman biology. Self-termination. This is an act of pure kinetic trauma. By bracing the hilt of his heavy iron sword against the ground or having a loyal servant hold it, Brutus deliberately threw the entire mass of his own body forward. Gravity and body weight forced the weapon upward through the chest wall, instantly rupturing the cardiovascular system. It was not the death of a coward. It was a calculated, mechanical exit from a failing republic. 2,000 years later, the state no longer relied on gravity and iron to execute its traitors. It harnessed the raw, invisible power of electrons. Number 4. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. In 1953, at the height of the Cold War, the Rosenbergs were convicted of passing nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union. To this day, the debate rages: were they evil spies, or were they martyrs who prevented a Third World War by breaking America's nuclear monopoly? Regardless of their guilt, the anatomy of their execution remains one of the most horrifying biological malfunctions in modern justice. On June 19, Julius was strapped into the electric chair at Sing Sing prison. He was subjected to a lethal cycle of alternating current. He died instantly. Then came his wife, Ethel. The human body's resistance to electricity varies. The executioners applied the standard 3 shocks. But the voltage failed to induce total cardiac arrest. The attending physician stepped forward to confirm the death, only to find her heart was still beating. The execution was botched. The guards had to strap her back in and apply 2 more massive surges of current. By the time her biology finally failed, the extreme thermal energy had literally superheated her cerebrospinal fluid. Witnesses reported a thick plume of vapors rising from her upper cranium. It took nearly 5 agonizing minutes to terminate her. Number 3. Vidkun Quisling. When Nazi Germany invaded Norway in 1940, Quisling did not fight. He walked to a radio station and declared himself the new leader, collaborating entirely with the Third Reich. He handed his own country over to the occupiers. In 1945, the restored Norwegian government tried him for high treason. On October 24th, he was tied to a post and executed by a military firing squad. Multiple high-velocity projectiles simultaneously ruptured his cardiopulmonary system, causing instant death. But the forensic horror of Quisling's treason did not end with the kinetic impact of the bullets. The state was so perplexed by the sheer magnitude of his betrayal that doctors actually extracted his brain during the autopsy. They subjected it to rigorous neurological examination, searching for a physical, biological defect that could explain why a man would sell out his entire nation. They found no biological anomaly. His brain was perfectly normal. But his treason was so absolute that his very name mutated into a virus. To this day, in the English lexicon, to be called a Quisling is to be branded the lowest form of political parasite. A firing squad is a modern, military execution. It is fast. It is mathematical. But in the 17th century, the English crown engineered a punishment designed to keep the human brain conscious while the body was methodically destroyed. Number 2. Guy Fawkes. Fawkes was the triggerman for the Gunpowder Plot of 1605, an attempt by English Catholics to blow up King James I and the entire Protestant leadership. Let us first correct a laughable historical myth perpetuated by lazy documentaries. Fawkes was not caught with matches in his pocket. Friction matches would not be invented for another 2 centuries. He was found with touchwood and a slow match, a burning cord of hemp. For high treason, Fawkes was sentenced to be hanged, broken, and separated. The mechanics of this punishment are clinically sadistic. The state does not want you dead immediately. You are hanged just enough to induce severe hypoxia, then cut down while still biologically alive. The executioner then performs a live internal extraction, opening up the lower chest and destroying the internal organs before your own eyes. On January 31, 1606, Fawkes was dragged to the scaffold. His body was already shattered from days of extreme orthopedic trauma on the punishment rack. He could barely walk. But as he climbed the ladder, his brain remained perfectly calculated. He knew the anatomical horrors waiting for him at the top. Fawkes decided to use the physics of gravity against the crown. As the noose was placed around his neck, he did not wait to be slowly asphyxiated. He deliberately launched himself off the ladder. The sudden, uncalculated drop generated massive kinetic energy. The force instantly fractured his cervical vertebrae, severing the spinal cord. Total neurological termination. Instant death by snapping his cervical spine. Guy Fawkes robbed the executioner of his live organ extraction. It was a final, masterful manipulation of biomechanics to escape the ultimate revenge of the state. Number 1. Robert Hansen. Brutus used a sword. Fawkes used gravity. The Rosenbergs were boiled by electricity. But history's most damaging traitors no longer faced the physical wrath of the state. They faced the sterile, bureaucratic hypocrisy of the modern justice system. For over 2 decades, FBI Special Agent Robert Hansen systematically dismantled United States national security. He sold thousands of highly classified documents to the Soviet KGB, and later, Russian intelligence. He exposed the U.S. nuclear continuity of government plans. Worse, he leaked the identities of covert American assets in Moscow. Men who were subsequently arrested, taken to deep basements and eliminated, and executed with a single kinetic projectile to the rear of the cranium. Hansen's betrayal was absolute. It caused catastrophic loss of life and geopolitical dominance. So, how did the modern American state execute its ultimate traitor? It didn't. To avoid the public humiliation of a prolonged trial, the Department of Justice offered him a plea deal. Hansen was sent to ADX Florence, a supermax containment facility. The man who sold out the free world did not face a firing squad. He did not face the electric chair. Instead, his biology was protected by the state he betrayed. He received 3 meals a day. He was provided with taxpayer-funded geriatric and oncology care. On June 5, 2023, Robert Hansen died in his cell. Not from an executioner's hand, but from colon cancer. A completely natural, cellular degradation. He was 79 years old. The architects of modern justice engineered a system where a man who steals a loaf of bread in the 17th century is disfigured in the public square, but the man who sells the nuclear codes in the 21st century gets to die quietly in his sleep. Part 4. The verdict. History proves that treason is simply a matter of dates, geography, and who wins the war. We have examined the forensic anatomy of 5 notorious figures. Now, the autopsy belongs to you. Who was the true villain? Was Brutus a traitor for striking Caesar, or a hero trying to save a republic? Did the Rosenbergs commit treason, or did they secure global nuclear deterrence? And most importantly, does the modern justice system insult the victims of treason by allowing men like Robert Hansen to die of old age? Leave your official verdict in the comments below.